Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Eden Hour. I am currently in a very uninspiring conference room in New York. I'm joined here by DJ Trix, who's our beloved co-host, and we've got Alex Pall from the Chainsmokers. Today we're going to have a really loose and free-flowing conversation about music, about NFTs, how Alex found his way into Web3, and a little bit about their firm Mantis, which are early stage investors in Magic Eden. I think Alex needs no introduction, but we'll do one anyway. He is one of the one half of the Chainsmokers, a Grammy award-winning artist with billions of streams and over 10 multi-platinum singles, including Billboard 100 #1 with the tune of the century, Closer. According to Forbes, was one of the highest paid celebrities, and the Chainsmokers were one of the highest paid DJs in the world. They've been touring for 8 years. They've done a residency in Vegas at XS. They took a 2-year hiatus from social media and to do investing in startups for many years. They recently started a venture capital fund called Mantis Ventures, which is backed by a range of investors, including Mark Cuban, and they are investors in us. So without further ado, I guess, how does it feel to be back in the limelight with new music, such as the releases of High and iPad after taking a bit of a break?
First, awesome intro. Thank you. I wish every time when I wake up and get greet, it's an awesome way to wake up. We're super glad to be back. I mean, I think, the 2 years that you mentioned in the intro was really, really important to us. I felt like we kind of were burned out a little bit at the end of 2019. Obviously, we did not expect a global pandemic to be on the horizon, but our intention, regardless of that, was to kind of take a step back, collectively take a deep breath, gather our thoughts, and kind of recharge our battery. Felt like creatively drained and uninspired. And, that was our intention with those 2 years, to kind of go back into like a bear and hibernate, I guess, and kind of creatively get those juices flowing again. And luckily we took a trip to Hawaii early on before the pandemic, intentionally to kind of just go to Hawaii. Like, we brought our studio, but we weren't sure if we would make any music. And, but I think removing that expectation of having to make something was really exciting for us, because we were like, well, what if we make just like a screamo album? Who cares? Like, we don't have to release it. You know what I mean? It was just like, let's just experiment. It's
A
fun.
screamo
And,
album by the Chainsmokers. I would be
yeah.
the first to stream it.
Yeah,
Oh
thank
my
you.
God.
I wish that's what happened. We ended up just making a great, an awesome Chainsmokers album, but that was really important to us, and I definitely feel like we used that time really wisely in setting up Mantis and getting deep into investing, and we're super excited about the new releases. High and iPad are doing great. We kind of feel like a new band in a lot of ways, like starting from scratch. But for us, it's amazing. We have such a great community of fans that were kind enough to wait for us patiently over the last couple of years, and you know, I try not to read Reddit forums a lot and stuff like that, because they can really damage the ego. But and they used to be pretty unkind to us, and and that's the public opinion. That's all good. But I went recently and looked after we released these 2 songs, and it was overwhelmingly positive, and it was such a nice feeling to kind of be like, okay, I think we know what we're doing now. Because I feel like we were a little lost in the sauce towards the end of 2019.
Yeah, I mean, they're bangers for sure. I listened to them today. Um, so I'm kind of curious if you could tell us more of that personal aspect of the last 2 years. So it takes a lot, I would assume, moving from that mental space of being super burnt out and feeling a little lost, as you're saying, and now today. Can you just walk us through a little bit of that journey?
Yeah,
What were some
sure.
of the things that were restorative? Yeah, what did you do with the
So
last 2 years?
yeah, so I mean, we played basically for 8 years. We played close to 180 shows a year every year. So that's basically every other day you're playing a show for 8 years. And we
Jesus.
obviously were super lucky, and had some really great success with some of our songs along that journey. But it became this I don't want to explain it, like a hurricane of just action. You're kind of just constantly trying to keep up with your own schedule and yourself and expectations. And and we love making music. It's our passion. It's not like a job thing for us. It just, we're lucky that it became, you know, what our job is, but we never like made music because it was just like, oh, let's go, you know, cash in and make a song or something like that. But along the way, you know, I felt like Drew and I were making, you know, kind of like derivative music of ourselves. Like we were just kind of like putting stuff out to satisfy whatever was happening and keep the machine running. And, you know, we had done this crazy 42 city tour at the end of 2019. And at the end of it, we were just like, looked at each other and we're just like, yo, we gotta chill. Like, this is like unsustainable right now. I'm not even having fun, you know, anymore, like fun with the music side of things. And, you know, we just were like, let's just take a break. You know, like it could be, the break could be 2 months, it could be a year, it could be 2 years. You know, we don't really know at this point in time, but we know we needed a break. And
what was the straw? Was there a straw that broke the camel's back?
Probably the tour. I mean, like the tour is super fun. I mean, we had a blast playing these shows. The show was amazing, but it's like extremely physically and mentally demanding. You're like waking up, you know, waking up in a new city underneath an arena every day and basically in like darkness. And, you know, and the days are like very like monotonous. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you basically do, it's a Groundhog's Day every day, other than the actual show portion, which is like what, you know, what you're looking forward to. And then on top of that, you know, you're trying to finish our last album, World War Joy, and put out songs. And it just was kind of like, you know, like, why are we not enjoying this as much as we should? You know, this should be like the best feeling ever. And, you know, we thought long and hard about that. And we're just like, I think it has to do with just, you know, mentally and physically with ourselves. You know, we're just like at our end right now. We need to like go back home and chill and like re-inspire ourselves about like why we fell in love with what we're doing, and also re-inspire ourselves from like a music standpoint. Like creativity is super fleeting, and you know, if you're exhausted all the time, or you know, you have 1 hour to make something or work on something, it's like it doesn't lend itself kindly. And so that was kind of the moment after that tour when we were just like, we're like not, you know what I mean, like we're just like doing a disservice to everybody right now. Like this should be way better than what it is. And you know, and lucky for us, we were kind of like we're always on the same page, so we're like 100%, let's do this. We obviously didn't know like a global pandemic was on the horizon, which presented its own challenges, but also in some ways, like, I mean, we were both nervous to take the break too, because we were like, what if the world just kind of keeps cruising on by and forgets about us? And you know, and luckily that, you know, no one, that didn't happen. But you know, on some levels, you're kind of scared to sideline yourself. And I think that, but like, I think ultimately that was like the most important thing, you know, we've maybe done in our career.
Yeah, that's really interesting, man. Like, so you were touring, but alongside the touring, you also were holding down a residency at XS in Vegas, right?
Yeah, I mean, we played 50 shows a year in Vegas, which
So
is
like a weekly
basically like every weekend. And you know, we would do like, there were weekends where we would go play in like Boston and get on a jet, fly to Vegas, same night, play a show in Vegas that night, then get back on a jet after the Vegas show and fly back to the next city and land and basically do that next show. I mean, there's even crazier ones than that. And
Wow.
and like, we're so fortunate to get to do this. So I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, but like it just takes its toll eventually, like like it would on anyone. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. So you know, we love Vegas. We're still doing Vegas, not quite as much. I think it's like 30 shows a year now. And we love it. It's such a great opportunity. It's like the closest thing for a musician to having like a professional contract, like an athlete or something.
Yeah, what's the show like in Vegas? Is it a DJ set or is it you actually
That's
performing?
just a DJ set. The arena tours are like, I'm playing like, you know, 10 keyboards and synthesizers and Moogs, and Matt's drumming and Drew singing and playing guitar. But the Vegas shows, like, I think the core of what you got to understand about Vegas is like, everyone coming to Vegas is just trying to have the time of their life. It's like they're all trying to let loose. We're not here to like have a musical experiment done on them. They just want to hear the hits and have a great time. So we always like equate our DJ set in Vegas to like a frat party vibe, where it's just like playing everything people want to hear. We're having, you know, an awesome, you know, we're just trying to make sure everyone has a great time and has like the night of their life. And that's kind of the important piece of that. But I mean, we fucking love it. It's, you know, it's a 45-minute trip from LA. The Wynn is, you know, I don't know if you've been, it's like an exceptional casino, hotel. And, you know, and it's also nice because it's like a melting pot. You know, you're constantly having friends who haven't seen in 5 years flying in for bachelor parties or for conferences. So we, it's a really good place to host people.
Yeah, it sounds like possibly the touring on its own might have been all right, or the Vegas residency on its own might have been all right, but the fact that you were doing both at the same time for
In
such a long
Europe
period,
and
that's
Asia and South
exhausting.
America and Australia, and it's just like it's constant. It's very constant, and we're lucky because I know some artists would kill to be in this position. So we're like we were kind of the mindset like we don't want to feel like pricks. You know what I mean? Like being bitch. We got to do this. Like we're so lucky that we can do this. But also like music is inherently about passion and creativity, and if you're not taking care of that part of it, you're kind of doing yourself and everyone else a disservice too. So you got to find that balance, just like everything in life.
So what did you learn about yourself over the last 2 years?
A lot. I think that, that we have an amazing group of friends. I think a lot of people over the pandemic, like found their tribes, as I called them, where it's like us 10 are going to hang out, like this is going to be our tribe on the weekends. And, one thing I also found out is that we're, extremely, obviously, I don't think Drew and I can just like chill. I think like, we had these 2 years off, we worked on the album and we were like, what else can we do? And we've been toying with this idea of, launching a fund. And, and we were just like, this seems like a great opportunity to really dig in here while we aren't touring and really get this thing off the ground and learn as much as possible. So I feel like we have this like insatiable curiosity and kind of, ambition to always push ourselves into like different areas and things, kind of way out of our depth and kind of like sink or swim in some ways, which was like, really exciting and fun. And also I think we just, you also like recognize during this time, like we weren't home at all, like the last 8 years, we were basically just constantly away from home. So like being around our friends, our family, girlfriends, or dogs, it was like such a
Your dog?
Yeah, this is one of them. That's Mushu. She's somewhere. I think she went to rattlesnake training today, actually.
Okay, you have a lot of rattlesnakes where you live?
This is like LA shit. Like they like basically, there's just like rattlesnakes and on hiking trails. So they teach your dog when they hear the like sound of the rattlesnake to like not, instead of like attacking it like it's a toy, they like stay away from it. I don't know. This is some LA shit. It was
You're like, yeah, your dog looks like this like holy figure on your right.
Yeah, it's actually great on pitch calls because a lot of the time they'll be like, if someone golden retriever people, anyone listening, like we're like a community that like a secret society. So if you like meet someone that also has a golden, you're like automatically best friends. It's like so there'll be like pitch calls and like you'll be raising money or pitching a company and they'll be like, that your dog? And be like, yeah. I'm like, I have one too. And you're just like, this is going to be easy then.
Yeah. Wait, so tell us about, so this is how Mantis was born, and thanks for sharing this context. Tell us about Mantis.
Yeah, well, it was actually, in fairness, it was kind of born, the idea of it started years before. Drew and I, when we finally had some success, when we weren't broke ass musicians anymore after many years, we, our business manager, who's an integral part of our team, was like, you should start thinking about, investing into companies to create passive revenue streams over the years. And we were like, yeah, that sounds great. I don't really know what you mean yet, but let's do it. And, obviously having the success we had, luckily there were a lot of like incoming opportunities. At the time, it was mostly like CPG stuff, which, I didn't really even know the distinction between all the different types of investments out there in the world. This is probably like 6 years ago or something. And, we started to invest in these different companies and really enjoyed the process of, working closely with these founders on occasion and, using whatever skills we have or perspective or platform to kind of help them grow and achieve their goals. And also along the way, and this kind of ties back into Vegas, like a big part of this Chainsmokers success is just the hospitality side of things. Like we're entertainers, but really what we do is we just take care of people, make them feel special and acknowledged and, show them a great time. And, in our travels, we were lucky enough to meet people like Brian Chesky and Drew from Dropbox and Michael Seibel and Justin Kahn. And they became really good friends of ours. And they were the ones that kind of encouraged us to take a more proactive approach in investing. They were like, they didn't say it so nicely. They were like, why aren't you in better deals? There's like, investors in any of our companies, like, they didn't mean it like in a like this way. They're just like, why aren't you using your access to get into some of these awesome companies that are being built right now? And we were just like, I don't know. How do you get, like, where are those deals? I have no idea. Where do we find them? You know, like no one's like, they're not coming. Airbnb's not coming knocking on my door. And, you know, we thought long and hard about that. And, you know, we kind of acknowledged that we could probably, you know, just seek it out, you know, like make more relationships, try to get it on the inside and, you know, write, you know, angel checks into some of these companies potentially. But like, I think one thing we're very self-aware about is just like all the stuff we don't know, you know, and I think that's important in general in life and any business. It's just like, it's okay to not know everything and ask questions and come in and ask people that are experienced and learn from everybody around you. And, you know, you don't have to have this like, I know it all attitude, especially if you don't know it all. And even more so if you do know it all, because then I feel like I read an interesting article where if you're not like curiosity is like how you learn. And if you like think you know everything, you're basically like stunting the ability to like learn more stuff. But anyways, so, you know, the idea of like just investing as angel, continuing to invest as angel was like, okay, this is kind of interesting, you know, but I still don't feel like I'm going to be able to like, you know, analyze and understand, you know, all these different spaces from like ML to AI to SaaS to, you know, fintech. And also like, there's just something about, you know, when you're spending your own money, obviously we're very responsible financially, but there's just something different about like raising capital from outside people and the friends that have wanted to support you over years that makes you just like 1,000 times more responsible and aggressive. And we've kind of felt like that might be the route. But even more so, we thought it was interesting because then we could kind of leverage these relationships and these like pros and leaders of different industries to help us make the right decisions and help us add value into the companies we invest in. So, you know, for example, like Mark Cuban, you mentioned as an investor, it's like, obviously he's an expert in a lot, you know, at Web3 at this point and a lot of fintech stuff. You know, anything, you know, entertainment related also at this. I mean, he's kind of an expert in everything, to be honest with you. And we were like, great, we could leverage our relationship with him to help us make the right decisions. And then, you know, he's an investor through us, so he'll add value into the companies that he's involved in potentially. And it felt like a really exciting flywheel for us. And that's kind of when Drew was like, maybe launching a fund is the best move. But we knew we needed great partners in Milan and Jeff, who we found. And, you know, I'm just becoming good at reading data rooms, being able to like break them down. Milan was always good at that. You know, Jeff is an operator. He's built 5 successful businesses. So he really understands, you know, the nuts and bolts of how to get from A to Z. And so we wanted to like round out, you know, ourselves with like, you know, really experienced people that could help complement our skills as, you know, also founders and building the Chainsmokers and all the things that took. And go out and, you know, and add value into these businesses that, you know, that we were really interested in. But I think the last thing I'll say, sorry, I'm rambling on right now, is that, you know, we started out thinking we would be, well, there's a couple of funny things. The first one is, you know, the first focus of the fund was to be, you know, investing in consumer and along that vertical and also in blockchain. And this was probably like the first month or two of the pandemic. And we went out to investors and they were like, take blockchain out and also, you know, good on the consumer vertical. You guys will understand that. About like the funny thing about the blockchain is about 3 months later, they're all like, you didn't take the blockchain out, right? Like you're still investing in Web3 and crypto. Cause like everything changed from like April, May to like July of 2020, I guess. The shift in terms of like how people were interested in the space, it was like nuts. You know what I mean? Like everything changed in that kind of corridor. So that was funny. And then also we kind of did our first fintech deal and we were like, wait, we can be really helpful into all of these companies. Maybe we don't have to limit ourselves to just consumer because that's what we understand the best and where we think we can be helpful. So that really like broadened our horizon. And I'm kind of proud to say like our fund is in amazing companies, but we invest in like boring stuff. You know what I mean? Like kind of in some ways, like we don't love the like shiny objects that, you know, some people might say like, oh, wow, that's, you know, that's really cool. And over there, I like the kind of like infrastructure and the picks and shovels and, you know, the things that aren't maybe the most exciting deal memos to read, but like really, you know, are important pieces to building like a, you know, important pieces to creating disruption in really interesting sectors. So that's kind of our perspective. There are a lot of great people out there. I mean, I think our goal, like, and I'm fully like, I think again, like being self-aware is super important. Like there are times when like certain people have become DJs and I'm just like, you're making a mockery of our space. You know what I mean? It's like, don't come in to be like, DJing's already corny enough on some levels. Like we don't need like this component to like, all like, I love all the ape generation stuff that's happening. And I think it's like really fun and creative, but like, why does it have to be dance music? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, great. We're gonna have all these cartoons DJing everywhere. You know what I mean? It's like we're already like on the defense of just maintaining a coolness in our genre, period. So I feel like there are constantly people coming in and like testing the how like lame we can make the space. And you know, I feel like with us becoming venture capitalists, like I know people out there were like, this is a bad idea. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're about to lose their investors' money. They're not going to take it seriously. They don't understand, you know, how this ecosystem works. And they were right about like a lot of those things, but like we knew that was kind of the sentiment coming in. And so we really want to do everything we could to like dispel that kind of myth around what like a celebrity investor could look like. And we knew that really just started with just like meeting everyone and showing them the kind of people we were and asking questions and being super humble, because, you know, we didn't know shit and we wanted to learn it all. And then also just the most important piece of any, you know, one investment is just actually being helpful, you know? So like, don't invest in things that you don't plan on being helpful with, you know? And for us, like we love friendship and partnership. And I always say like, you know, these founders should want to have a beer with you at the end of the day. Like, you know, obviously there's a level of accountability and we're not like one of these big firms writing, you know, $30 million checks in. So maybe they have to be a little bit more like, get back to fucking work. But for us, you know, we want to be that like partner they can rely on at any time, and really make a difference. And it's like, and that's how I think we've done well, is by doing that effectively and then having those founders go out and say like, these guys were awesome, you know what I mean? And then hopefully we get more opportunity. And, you know, the second we stop doing that, the second, you know, everything falls apart. But I hope we're like raising the bar, you know, for what a celebrity investment fund can look like. And I honestly, my goal is to get rid of the celebrity part of this and it just be a great investment fund. You know, we've grown from 4 people to 11 people now. None of them are celebrities. They're all like great investors from different spaces, from like Lazard and you know, different walks of life. And I think, you know, we've done a good job, you know, hopefully building out Mantis into something that's, you know, far bigger than just a celebrity fund.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think when we were going through kind of one of the tough times, you guys were there for us and gave us a lot of advice and also just helped comfort and give us some of confidence back. Like when we were feeling like really unsure about some stuff, and it was really assuring. I'm trying to remember oh yeah, you gave us marketing advice and you like hooked us up with someone who could give us some advice on TikTok, and like those meetings happen so quickly. Yeah.
It's just little things. I feel like that's, you know, sometimes like you guys are brilliant. So you guys, you know, generally figure it out yourselves, but sometimes it's nice to just get it like a little bit, you know, have someone to chat something, you know, like over with a new concept, or like, you know, a lot of times in music, like you'll hear something from another artist and you'll be like, okay, I'm not going to copy that, but like that got me thinking very differently about how I can approach this song this time. And I think it's just important to have those conversations and be there for people. And I know that like, you know, like when you're leads or you're have board seats and it's like, you know, there's like a level of like, you know, like they're your parents / partners, you know, and you're like, I'm not trying to go to mom right now and tell her that like I'm stressed out about this or whatever. And we try to be that middle layer that's just like, yo, how can we help? You know what I mean? Like just tell whatever you need, just text us at any time of the day. And we can like work together to try and fix it. But you guys are brilliant. Like, I mean, it's incredible the execution that you guys have pulled off. And I hear about Magic Eden everywhere now, and we're super grateful and honored to be a part of it. Shout out to Faraway Games also for making that intro to you guys.
Oh, is that how it came about then? So you were introduced to Magic Eden via Alex at Faraway?
Exactly. We invested in them and we were just talking, you know, helping them out on a call, and they were like, oh, you guys, you know, are you familiar with Magic Eden? And we had heard, but like we didn't know, you know, sometimes you're just like, you hear about rounds going down and you're just like, hear all the people involved and you're like, oof. Like short of like getting a great intro from someone like Alex, this might be like a really challenging thing to throw ourselves into the mix of. And you know, Alex is close with Zed and introduced us, and it was like a, you know, match made in heaven.
No, it's great. And I think, yeah, we also talked to you guys at one point because we wanted to sponsor a music festival and you talked us out of it. And it was actually just so affirming to have someone who actually knows the music space help us on something as small as that. And then
100%. I mean, that's,
we've
and it's
also,
funny, we're like talking you out of doing music.
yeah.
But it's like, it was a great idea, by the way. It's just like, you know, it's like everything in life, there's just like the right time for it, you know? Because I think in general, like you guys were thinking about it perfectly. It was just one of those things where you're like, you know, like, are you going to get is the value proposition right now worth it?
For sure. We've also used you as somewhat of a pony, like, because I think we got our head of ops to come on board in part because you sent him a video that was like, hey,
oh yeah, we love doing those. It's so funny. I mean, years and years and years and years of sending like happy birthday videos to fans, friends, kids, and whoever. We're like pros at the like 2-minute like song and dance, and it's cool to do. I mean, you know what I mean? I think that's it. It's like we don't always know how we're gonna be helpful, but we'll know we'll go to any length to do it. And I think like, especially when it comes to hiring, like that process for like anyone on both sides is like so fucking dull and stressful. Like, you know, like on your end, you're just like, is this person gonna be good enough and right for the job? On their end, they're like, do I want to take this risk and change my life? And it's just kind of like back and forth, and then it gets into the money side of things, which is like stressful and this, and then eventually, finally, it just is like, you like forget why you're even like doing this stuff, you know. And I think like coming back in at the end and kind of humanizing the process a little bit and being like, hey, just to remind you, like this company's awesome, this is going to be really fun, we believe in them, you know, it like kind of reaffirms the initial like thought process of why it all started. That can get lost kind of along the way of the, you know, HR experience.
Of course. I'm actually going to pass the mic to Dan. I mean, I think we would love to understand just like your involvement with cryptocurrency, with crypto, with NFTs, and he's really good at asking those questions. So yeah, Dan, go for it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, firstly, there's one thing I wanted to ask about Mark Cuban. Like, how do you come into contact with somebody like Mark Cuban? Like, how does that relationship start?
The first time we met Mark, it could have been Vegas, to be honest. Like, again, like Vegas is like this great melting pot. Like sometimes it's CES, sometimes it's March Madness, sometimes it's like, you know, there are all these things happening there. So like you have these amazing, you know, people coming every weekend for different reasons. And, you know, lucky for us, we're kind of like the epicenter of the nightlife stuff happening. So we always get to meet all these awesome people. And, you know, again, we love hosting. So we try to show everyone a good time. And for us, we're very relationship driven. You know, we're not like, hey, Mark, nice to meet you. You want to invest in our fund? You know, that was like, we've known Mark for, you know, years and years before he ever wrote a check into Mantis. And, you know, I think we played his 60th birthday party in Dallas, which was super fun. And you know, and eventually like these people are always like, how can we work together? Like, you know, like I think they feel like we're constantly doing stuff for them. And we're just like, no, this is awesome hanging out with you guys. And then finally, you know, we were just like, wait, actually, I think there is something we could kind of like work on, or I could use your support on. And, you know, because, you know, it's never been about transactions. It's like, they're always, you know, super kind and generous about, you know, offering their support and services.
It sounds like a lot of these things have happened quite naturally and organically. Like you mentioned about Alex from far away, you met them, they introduced you to Magic Eden, and the way you met these like Mark Cuban, and yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're going about your business, you're leading your life, you're enjoying yourself, you're doing your shows in Vegas, and these opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you gotta push the needle a little bit, and like, you know, that takes a little, you know, it's always uncomfortable kind of breaking routine and doing different things sometimes. But I think, you know, one thing Jimmy Buffett of all people taught us, who's like the legend, you know, the man, Jimmy Buffett, Margaritaville, like all these different things, was just like, make sure when you're starting businesses or getting into new areas, like that, like at the core, it's kind of an inherent extension of all the things you're already good at or your things you're already doing. So like for us, like, you know, we didn't realize like so many of the parallels between venture and music and a lot of the things that we do on a daily basis. And then also, you know, just, you know, relationships, like it's such a relationship driven business that we're just like, oh, great. Like, well, we love making new friends and talking to people and helping people out. And, you know, and I think it's funny. So it's like like if I suddenly was like, oh, I want to become a veterinarian, like that would be like a pretty drastic change from like everything that I'm good at and know. Like I'm not a good doctor. I do love pets. That's probably about like the only thing that qualifies as, but I would have to go to veterinary school and, you know, like open up a clinic and this and that. And it wouldn't, like, I couldn't do that in Vegas at the same time, you know? So it's, you know, it's like, oh, I'm drunk coming back from Vegas to operate on your dog. Like it's wouldn't be ideal. So, but like with venture, it's like, you know, we'll run like, you know, internal competitions where, you know, the winning sales teams can come out and celebrate with us for a night in Vegas or to show, you know, nearby. Or, you know, this weekend we're hosting like a couple of tier 1 funds actually at a show we're doing, and a festival we're doing in Vegas. And, you know, and it's just like very natural stuff. Like they're like, we're going to be in Vegas. I'm like, I am too, come to the show. They're like, amazing, let's do dinner before. You know, and it's like, wow, this is all really happening organically. It doesn't feel like anyone's kind of out of their depths here.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It sounds like it's all running really nice. In terms of like cryptocurrency and NFTs and Solana, is this something you like are really focused on now in terms of investing in other crypto companies alongside the Magic Eden investment?
Yeah, I mean, we had a really interesting introduction into the crypto, blockchain, Web3 space. By the way, it's so funny. I always get like, you know, it's like you used to call blockchain. That's not that you're frowned upon now. Then you call it like crypto. It's like, no, it's too vague. It's Web3. And then someone called it the open web. I was just like, whatever, you know what I'm fucking talking about. Yeah. But we had a really interesting introduction in basically like, I think we were playing a Google corporate party like 5 years ago or something. And this friend of ours came into our dressing room and was like, I have an idea I want to pitch to you. I think it's a, you know, groundbreaking idea, really exciting. Basically, like short of it was a blockchain ticketing platform. And I had never heard of the term blockchain before. I had to do a lot of homework. He obviously did a great job explaining to us, but the value proposition that I understood and was drawn to was that, you know, we could create a better ticketing experience for our fans that drove more community engagement and interaction. The promoters had more opportunity and data than ever before to understand who's in the seats. And then the biggest part to me from a business standpoint was, oh, wait, we can eradicate the second, you know, like ticket scalping and control it ourselves. Like the worst thing an artist goes through is like, hey, our tickets are on sale for $50. Then every bot buys up all your tickets and resells them for $250. Not only are my fans getting screwed, which sucks, but like I'm getting screwed because now tickets are 5 times more expensive. I'm not even participating in any of that, nor is the promoter. And it's like a really kind of messed up system. And with it, you know, with blockchain technology, it was like, wow, this can kind of solve for all of these different problems that exist. And also like bring the experience like into the 21st century, like a PDF, like we're still printing pieces of paper to go to shows. Like, why isn't the ticket like interactive? Why can't I use this ticket to like redeem merch, you know, or enter you know, different level of fandom within that artist's, you know, community? And so we, you know, we're in, let's do it. Let's partner. Problem was we were way ahead of our time at that point in time. Obviously there were a lot of people experimenting in crypto and blockchain, but from a, you know, mass adoption standpoint, the world was not trying to hear this. I mean, you know, everyone was kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I was like, well, it is broken. You know what I mean? We're just like not at a point right now where you feel like so compelled to do this. The other kind of catch-22 was like the ticketing space is for the most part a gigantic monopoly. So it's like very hard to make an impact in a space that basically just have 2 players, which is AEG and Live Nation. And they're obviously have great relationships with both of them, but you know, it's hard to, you know, create demand because basically you need one of those 2 people to get on board. And then if you do that, you're basically competing with yourself. You know, you can't be like, you know, it's not like in venture where you have like different firms driving up the price and stuff. They're just like, well, if you want to, you know, we'll just buy you for pennies on the dollar, basically, because you don't have, there's no other opportunity, you know, no one else can bid on you and make this work. But it was, you know, it was a very interesting experience. We learned a ton. And it was funny in that period I talked about earlier, where it was like May of 2020 or June, you know, that's when suddenly it was like, wait, all these people were like, wait, weren't you doing a blockchain company? Like, wasn't that something you were working on? And, you know, and we felt really lucky because I felt like I had a really good understanding of the technology in the space and what's possible. And, I think like there's so many other amazing applications of what, Web3 can be used for in the future and even currently. So that was kind of our introduction. And then from there, it's a deep rabbit hole, and we just hired an amazing person named Tina Chen to run our, Web3 side of our business at Mantis. And like, I'm over here thinking like, okay, relative to like other musicians, I'm probably like pretty knowledgeable about the space, like maybe top 5 percentile. But then you speak to someone that's like been doing this for like 10 years and is deep in the trenches, and you're like, oh wait, I know absolutely nothing. And it's like, so it's a very like humbling every time, you kind of start like diving back in, you're just like, it's like the language is being written as we learn it, and I talk to people that are, deep in the space all the time, and they're just like, I constantly am like relearning things, learning things again, educating myself. It's never ending. Every day there's like, 100 things that I have to like focus on, and that's really exciting. And I think that's why people are, really into this space, because of just the potential.
Yeah, there's so much you can work on this like 18-20 hours a day and still not even scratch the surface of what's out there. I've got to ask, Alex, do you have any NFTs?
Oh, I got a bunch. I'm not like one of those. I'm not going to pretend like I'm some crazy collector. I'm like, so I studied art history growing up. I thought I was going to be an art dealer before a musician and anything.
What?
Yeah. I went to NYU for art history and business, and I worked at an art gallery for 5 years before, or actually like kind of the deception of the Chainsmokers, but before anything, I was like paying the bills with the art gallery and DJing at night. And so I have like a deep appreciation for, art. And, I was really excited about the NFT space because like I've, spent many, many years flipping through textbooks and different eras of art and like what it meant. And, I was certain that NFTs were going to have a gigantic section in this, in the future books of art history. And, I wasn't smart enough to get a CryptoPunk. I blame myself. I should have done it. I think the problem for me personally at that point in time was just like, we weren't playing shows because of COVID. So I was like, how can I justify spending like $110,000 on this right now? Obviously I was wrong. I would have made a fortune on it. But I do have, we bought a bunch of apes. We have, a bunch of serums. Obviously we participated yesterday in the, the coin drop.
That was big. That ape drop.
Yeah, I got a World of Women, got a Invisible Friend, got a crypto dick butt, which is my favorite one. I think it's like the most absurd thing ever. Got a couple of lazy lions and art blocks and stuff like that. And and like for me, I'm just holding. Like I have no intention of ever selling. I always have my friends that are really into it being like, yo, sell right now. And I'm just like, you don't understand. I don't care. Like if these all go to zero, then so whatever. It was cool. Like I'm in this to just like amass a nice collection that I'm proud of, and maybe in 15 years it will be worth a huge amount of money. But I've come at it from more the collector standpoint than the flipping standpoint.
What about Solana? Do you have any Solana NFTs? And
so that's what I'm about to go on, and that's what I need your guys' help with right now. Like, you know what I mean? I need to get in on this stuff. Like, that's like, so all my friends, obviously, they got, they were just trading on, other OpenSea and platforms like that, because that was just like the the first generation of it. But so I'm I'm trying to find like the right friend that's gonna like direct me, because I always have people that are you're gonna help me out. So what should I be looking
at? We can definitely help you out.
Yeah,
this is what we do all day, every day.
Great. Well, this is music to my ears, because like I am ready to go. Like I'm good on the Ethereum stuff. Like bring me in, shoot me stuff all the time. I mean, this is actually how I do it. I'm very much like, someone's just like, check this out, and I'm just like, ooh, cool. Yeah. I like it. And just go and buy it. So I'll definitely be a supporter. I mean, you got to diversify at the end of the day. I haven't bought anything in a while though. I got to say, I think we've just been like so deep in the music stuff. We're doing a cool drop in the future in the NFT space.
What are you doing?
I can't give too much away, but it's going to be dope, and it's around our album. So we're really excited about that. We can get your guys' input too on that as well. But yeah, it's been tough recently because I've just been so focused on the release of music, and we're going to start raising Fund 3 soon. But I think it's time that I add some Solana based NFTs, and we're investors in Metaplex, and number of other Solana-based companies that we're excited about. So bring it on.
For sure. No, and happy to help give pointers on any kind of launches, because those things are hard. It's really hard to nail an NFT launch. People think it's so easy.
No, it's super hard. And also it's just like the, like, I think like I'm proud that I have a Mecha Fight Club, but those went, like, people were so bullish on them and now they're not bullish, you know what I mean? Because of like different flaws that took place during the minting process. And it's like, it's a very fragile, delicate thing. And like, you gotta, the art is the first step piece in. And it's like, I really admire the Yuga Labs guys and a lot of the other, labs out there that have been done really great things and building the community. Because it's like building it's like how we had to build the Chainsmokers. Like, you got to build narrative, you got to create, experiences that the people in the community want to be a part of. And I'm curious to see what in like 10 years, if this is like the future of, music and television and movies is all kind of based in, these characters that are created by these different studios. And then like DAOs, going so far as to say that DAOs are like creating those stories. I know I've looked at a couple companies, like we're investors in Superplastic, but I looked at one that Andrew Easton's in called Tally Labs. That's like, the foundation started around their ape and creating like a personality and story around him. But now they're like, have a huge community that are like generating IP and storytelling, which they'll like spin into, actual projects. And it's like, this is cool. Cause like we do not need like another Batman's great, but like we need some new shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a huge Batman man, but like how many remakes of Batman do we need? Or do we need someone to like come up with the next Batman, so hopefully.
Yeah. If I can take this kind of full circle, and we're going to wrap kind of soon.
Right.
So like, how did you do that with the Chainsmokers? And I probably should know the answer to this, but like, why are the Chainsmokers called the Chainsmokers? And okay, there's like 3 questions in one, but like, we've grown up with you guys, right? Like, this generation has grown up with the Chainsmokers. Like, how do you kind of see that relationship with your fan base evolving over time into like, who is the band? Who are the Chainsmokers now, right? Like, how would you like,
well, the name is not, I wish there was a better story. Just like, it was like smoking a ton of cigarettes and weed. It was just like, I got a show coming up on Saturday. I just need a fucking name. And I didn't think we'd be like here 10 years later, on podcasts talking about it. It was just like a temporary fix for a problem. But I do really like it. And I can't think of another name I would switch to if God was like, hey, pick another name and everything changes and no one remembers Chainsmokers. It's your new name. And I can't think of anything. But, for us, I mean, we feel really grateful. I mean, we see messages all the time from people being like, I remember 2016 being in high school or college, freshman, and now I'm, now those people are like 25 and 27, starting, families or, careers. And, I love the idea that like our music was kind of the soundtrack for their lives at some point. And I'd like to think that like our next album has that main character energy that we had in so much of our early music, that, when you're listening to it, you feel like you're kind of the center of the universe, or starring in your own movie. But for us, like, I think this next chapter, and I mentioned feeling like a new band again, it's just about like going deeper. I feel like that's what's so exciting about Web3. It kind of like levels the playing field, allows people to go deeper on so many things collectively. And so like, we're putting a lot more emphasis on just, connecting more with the people that want to spend time with us, and building from there, versus like casting a huge wide net and hoping that we capture everybody. Just like, hey, if you like this type of music and it makes you feel good and reminds you of something special or sad or happy, then, let's continue to deliver art that, complements that, and videos, and just, keep growing the Chainsmokers. Like, I don't think the venture arm has so much to do with the music, but for us, that's like an opportunity to pay it forward to like younger people with crazy ideas, disrupting industries and being a part of that narrative. It's like a fountain of youth, as you get older, to kind of just pay it, be able to invest into those technologies and use whatever, tools we've gained over the years to help them, effectively do what they're trying to do. So that's been a really cool, component to what the future looks like for us.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're dancing around it, but I can already see like token gated content and access like all over this.
I mean, you're not like wrong, but like at the same time, like I've taught, we've looked at so many music fucking Web3 things, and my issue is like, what is the value proposition? Like, is it just merch? That's fucking lame. Like, it can't just be merch. So like, music's tough because like we really only have like I don't want to say this, like there are few artists out there like the Billie Eilishes of the world and so on that like their fans are so ravenous. Like if you were just like pay $100 and you can get this, into this community where you get like an exclusive shirt that shows you're like this. But like for the most part, like that value proposition for artists is just like your music and your shows. So, beyond that, like I can't send 10,000 birthday videos every day. Like I can't spend all my time in Discords chatting, even though we jump a lot into our Discords and talk all the time and share content ahead of releases. But I think, musicians, like because of predatory labels and music rights, it's like, it's a tough place to crack the code, for token gated communities, because like, I'm not trying to like, extort my fans for more money. You know what I mean? Like my goal is to have my music heard by everybody on the planet, not like the few people that collectively own my token. That's like what part of music is like discovery and sharing. But I do love the idea of like having, channels where we could like, token gated acts and stuff where you can create really unique, better experiences for the people that want it. And you can go deeper in that sense. So we'll see what happens, but it's early days. There's a lot of things that need to change.
We didn't even talk about this, but you're totally right. I guess, yeah, like music feels so early for NFTs because I think of all the infrastructure around music, but also because it's really hard for a collector to know how to value this type of content. Because it's not like you have these rare traits in the way that a JPEG does. So,
but however, maybe you could. This is something I've talked about in the past. The idea of generative music collections, where you have 10 kicks, 10 snares, 20 samples, and then it's generatively creating maybe a 1,000, maybe a 5,000, maybe even a 10,000 collection of unique music pieces off the back of like randomizing samples.
I think that's a really cool application of like that technology potentially and like what it could look like in the future. I think like Arpeggi Labs is doing like, I guess it's like Ableton for blockchain, and like there's different companies out there exploring with those ideas. Splice, what if that was on the blockchain? Or it's interesting. I mean, I think like, again, it's just like, what is the mass? You know what I mean? Like what are the entry points right now that are going to get people into the space and excited about it in an easy way versus like all the little, things that could potentially be really cool aspects of it, but probably won't be like the driving force. That's why I think gaming is just the most obvious one for the time being. And that's why the space is so much bigger than music, because they're like much more open to innovation and collaboration than music, which is all about like, you can't use that song unless you're paying us. You know what I
mean? Yeah, I feel like music is almost as difficult of an industry to crack as like healthcare. Like,
oh yeah,
just the walls are so tall. And I agree. It's like, I think we're still looking for like that really simple use case for music NFTs that gets everyone on board. And yeah, I don't know. My hypothesis is that it's actually not the music itself. It's something else. So
yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Well,
guys, this was awesome.
Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for this very open and free-flowing conversation. Appreciate your time.
Of course. I'm glad we got to do this. Sorry about the Twitter Spaces last time. That was a disaster.
Don't worry about that. Twitter Spaces is so temperamental, and
that was so frustrating. I was like, "What am I doing wrong?"
yeah, I've been there as well. I think we all have. But yeah, seriously, man, thank you, Alex. It's been such a pleasure talking to you today. Like Tiff said, we really appreciate your time.
100%. Hook me up with these Solana NFTs. I need the drops. Yeah.
Oh, we will. Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of good stuff coming on Solana. Obviously, there's huge things coming for Magic Eden. as well. So you picked a good one there with that.
100%.
Yeah,
well, appreciate it, guys. Have a great weekend, and thanks for chatting today.
Thank you.